boys and girls. Last week, well, actually the week before Thanksgiving week, we worked on questioning. And we are going to continue to work on questioning. But I really want to focus on the different types of questions, especially the types that I usually test you guys on. And these are kind of coming from this page right here that I sent home at the beginning of the year in your learning bags, okay? And we're going to work through how to answer these questions and how to get better at just asking them while you read anyway, and then finding the answers to them. Because if you are doing this while you read, or even while you listen, you really understand what the story is about. And that is the second part of reading, right? The first part of reading is, can you actually read the words? The next part is, do you actually know what's going on in the book, okay? So we're going to walk through some of these questions with two books that we've already read before. So hopefully you remember them. So first we're going to start with Knufflebunny, okay? And the first question says, what was the story about? Okay? Well, this question I can answer in the text. See how I drew a book with a red arrow pointing into the book, because the answer is actually in here. If I flip back through the pages, if I listen to it again, I can find the answer. What was this story about? Well, let's see. I'm going to look in the book. This story, I'm kind of flipping through here. Remember, here's some reminders for me, was about Trixie, who went with her daddy to the laundromat to help him, but she accidentally left her Knufflebunny there, right? And then she threw a big hissy fit until Dad went back to go look for Knufflebunny, right? But he didn't understand her at first because Trixie couldn't talk. And when they got there, they had to look and look and look and look and look, but eventually they found it in the washing machine, right? And then she said her first words, remember, which was Knufflebunny. We can find that page right here. That was her first word she ever said. Okay, so what was the story about? Well, I looked right back through the pictures to remind myself what the story was about, okay? The answer was in the text, and I found it. The next question says, what was blank's problem in the story? So when they ask a question like that, they're usually talking about the main character. What was the main character's problem in the story? Well, in this story, the main character is, it's not Knufflebunny, it's Trixie, right? She's the main character. She is the one who the stuff happens to. So what is Trixie's main problem in the story? Well, I can go back and look, right? It's the point when she throws her hissy fit, right? Right when she realizes something, she knew that she left her Knufflebunny there, and she's trying to tell her dad. So her problem was she left her Knufflebunny at the laundromat, and she couldn't explain to her dad what the problem was because she couldn't talk yet. How did blank try to solve the problem? Well, let's look. She's saying aggle flaggle kablabble, and dad still doesn't understand. She says it louder. He still doesn't understand. She says plaggle, blaggle plabble, wumpy flappy snurp. He still doesn't understand her because she doesn't talk yet because she's a baby. So then she screams, right, and goes boneless. These are all things that Trixie tried to do to solve the problem, right? None of it worked. Okay, how did she try to solve the problem? We found that right in the book, didn't we? What do the characters like to do? Well, the main character is Trixie, and she likes helping out her daddy. We can tell because she wants to go with her daddy to the laundromat, right? And let's look back at that picture. So I'm still looking in the text because the answers are right there. See? Doesn't she look happy going with her dad? She likes spending time with her dad. She likes doing jobs with her dad. Looks like maybe they like walking through the neighborhood, right? Look, she's helping, but also playing, isn't she? Okay, so she likes playing, she likes helping, and she loves snuggling her Knufflebunny. All of the answers to that question I found right in the book, okay? Pretty easy stuff. Okay, you just have to look. You have to be a detective. You have to hunt. Okay, you can't just guess. You got to take the time to look. So I was going to show you another book, but I think I explained it pretty well with that one. So here's what we're going to do today. I am going to read you this book, Corduroy. I'm just going to read it to you. And then I'm going to put some of these questions on Seesaw. And I want you to answer the questions about this book on Seesaw, okay? I'm not going to hunt through Epic because I'm having a hard time finding books that I just absolutely love on Epic, okay? So sometimes I might just read a book and have you answer the questions about the book that I read, okay? And I modeled it with an old book, right? So I'm still modeling and still letting you do it, but instead of getting one from Epic, I'm reading you one. So here's Corduroy. Pay attention because I'm going to ask some of these questions in here. And if you forget, you can go back and push the video again and listen again, okay? Here we go. Let me scooch up a little bit so you can see. Corduroy is a bear who once lived in the toy department of a big store. Day after day, he waited with all the other animals and dolls for somebody to come along and take him home. The toy store was always filled with shoppers buying all sorts of things, but no one ever seemed to want a small bear in green overalls. Then, one morning, a little girl stopped and looked straight into Corduroy's bright eyes. "Oh, Mommy," she said, "look, there's the very bear I've always wanted." "Not today, dear," her mother sighed. "We've spent too much already. Besides, he doesn't look new. He's lost the button to one of his shoulder straps." You see how he's missing his button? Poor Corduroy. Corduroy watched them sadly as they walked away. "I didn't know I'd lost a button," he said to himself. "Tonight, I'll go and see if I can find it." Late that evening, when all the shoppers had gone and the doors were shut and locked, Corduroy climbed carefully down from his shelf and began searching everywhere on the floor for his lost button. Suddenly, he felt the floor moving under him. Quite by accident, he had stepped onto an escalator, and up he went. Could this be a mountain? He wondered. "I think I've always wanted to climb a mountain." He's confused, isn't he? He's never been out. He stepped off the escalator as it reached the next floor, and there, before his eyes, was the most amazing sight. Tables and chairs and lamps and sofas and rows of beds. "This must be a palace," Corduroy gasped. "I guess I've always wanted to live in a palace." See, so he thinks that the department store is a palace. He wandered around admiring the furniture. "This must be a bed," he said. "I've always wanted to sleep in a bed." And up he crawled onto a large, thick mattress. All at once, he saw something small and round. "Why, here's my button," he cried, and he tried to pick it up. But like all the other buttons on the mattress, it was tied down tight. Do you really think that's his button? I don't think it is. Doesn't even match, does it? He yanked and pulled with both paws until, pop, off came the button, and off came the mattress. Corduroy toppled, bang, into a tall floor lamp. Over it fell with a crash. Corduroy didn't know it, but there was someone else awake in the store. The night watchman was doing his rounds on the floor above, and when he heard the crash, he came dashing down the escalator. "Now who in the world did that?" he exclaimed. "Somebody must be hiding around here." Uh-oh. He flashed his light under and over sofas and beds until he came to the biggest bed of all. And there he saw 2 fuzzy brown ears sticking up from under the cover. Whoop, there he is. "Hello," he said. "How did you get upstairs?" The watchman tucked Corduroy under his arm and carried him down the escalator and set him on the shelf in the toy department with the other animals and dolls. Corduroy was just waking up when the first customers came into the store in the morning. And there, looking at him with a wide, warm smile, was the same little girl he'd seen only the day before. "I'm Lisa," she said, "and you're going to be my very own bear. Last night I counted what I've saved in my piggy bank, and my mother said I could bring you home." "Shall I put him in a box for you?" the saleslady asked. "Oh, no, thank you," Lisa answered, and she carried Corduroy home in her arms. She ran all the way up 4 flights of stairs into her family's apartment and straight to her own room. Corduroy blinked. There was a chair and a chest of drawers, and alongside a girl-sized bed stood a little bed just the right size for him. The room was small, nothing like that enormous palace in the department store. "This must be home," he said. "I've always wanted a home." Lisa sat down with Corduroy on her lap and began to sew a button on his overalls. "I like you the way you are," she said, "but you'll be more comfortable with your shoulder strap fastened." So she sewed it on for him. "You must be a friend," said Corduroy. "I've always wanted a friend." "Me too," said Lisa, and gave him a big hug. There's the story of Corduroy. So I'm going to be asking you a few questions that I think will fit this book. Not all of them, but a few. We'll see how well you answer them, okay? You can always go back and listen to the video again if you forget the story, okay?